Good morning, everyone. So, I recognize a lot of people in here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Miss Lang. Hi, guys. Dr. Satala is over there. And what we wanted to do first is, so this meeting is all about you understanding how to apply to NHS and how to get into NHS. But also, I think it's important that you understand maybe why you want to be a part of NHS and what do you do as a National Honor Society member. So in order to kind of get that information to you, I'm going to introduce our current officers who will tell you a little bit about their experience with NHS. So we have our president, Peyton Steinkircher.
Hi guys. So like Ms. Lang said, we just wanted to share a little bit about our experience with National Honor Society over the past 2 years. And for me, it's just been a really positive experience because it's a tangible outlet to maintain all of these positive assets that people are looking to maintain in high school. You have a community of scholarship, you have the ability to work on group service, to get service opportunity, to maintain leadership, a lot of these different things. So I don't know, it's just a really good community to be involved in, and it's something that I really encourage you guys to go out for. So, Kendall?
Okay, so I'm Kendall, I'm the vice president. To me, NHS has just allowed me to maintain being a well-rounded individual and see the impact that you can have on the people in your community and in your school. Because of the 4 pillars, we really make a difference in other people's lives. And you have to maintain a lot of service, a lot of leadership, and by doing that, just as an individual, you grow as a person, and then also you see how you can impact others. This is Savannah.
Hi guys, I'm Savannah and I'm the secretary. And for me, NHS has really just provided the opportunity to grow as a person, a lot through leadership in our school and service in our community, and it just gave me those opportunities to further that and just has overall made me a more well-rounded person. So I also highly recommend joining this club. And this is Lexi.
Hi guys, I'm Lexi, I'm the treasurer this year. I originally decided to become a part of NHS because I wanted to become a more active member of my community, and NHS has really served that purpose for me, and I've really gotten to see the change that it has made throughout the community. And this is Paige.
Hi guys, I'm volunteer coordinator, and NHS has meant a lot to me because it just introduces you to all sorts of people and all sorts of different activities that I wouldn't have otherwise done. And it's really fun, and I do highly recommend it. And this is Allison.
Hi guys, I'm Allison. I'm the peer tutoring coordinator. NHS is really important to me because through peer tutoring, it's a great way to combine scholarship and academics with service. And it's really important that you can see the impact you're having on individual people. So I really enjoy it, and it is really fun. Would recommend.
Thank you, girls. So let me just outline the application process, and then we're going to go into more detail. If you have someplace you can take notes, that's probably a good idea if you want to get out something to write with. And write on. Let's steel trap it up here. This presentation will also be posted on the district website, /NHS. So if you miss anything, you can go back and rewatch it. It'll be just that exciting. Okay, so anybody in the school who is going to be a junior or senior next year who's not currently in NHS will receive an application packet automatically in June. So last year I think we sent out about 200 packets. Okay, you have all summer to fill them out and to get your letters of recommendation. The packets will be due in September. Once we get the packets, then we have a faculty council of about 8 teachers. And we try to get somebody from almost every department, both seasoned and younger teachers, and then they sit down and they read through your applications. Okay, so Ms. Lang and I organize the process, but we're not voting members of the council. And then as the teachers read the applications, they go in 3 piles. They say definitely yes, maybe because I have some questions, and definitely no, all right? The maybes and the no's then we talk about as a whole group and we make final decisions. We submit the list of student numbers, because we still don't know who you are at this point, to the main office. And then Mrs. Bowman sends us back a list that says, here are the people that you've accepted. Okay, so there are a couple things with that. So one thing, if you have screwed up your application in some way, we can't go back and say, this is a problem because we don't know who you are. All right? What I want you to listen to for the rest of the meeting is how to get yourself in the definitely yes pile as opposed to the maybe a no pile. Okay, those are the details you're going to listen for today. Ms. Lang's going to start us off.
Okay, so like Dr. Satala said, if you have a 3.75 cumulative GPA or higher, you will automatically be mailed a packet in June. So there's no need to seek out an application. Guidance will get us a list of every single rising junior or senior who has a 3.75 cumulative GPA over your course of your high school, and you will automatically get sent a packet in June. So that's like our first pillar of NHS. So there's 4 pillars of the National Honor Society. The first one here is scholarship, and that's what makes you eligible to apply is your GPA 375. I do want to mention, since you're getting this like in June, you'll get it probably late June, early July, and the application is not due till September, so you have several months to actually work on your application. So keep that in mind. I think when the Faculty Council looks over your applications, they want to make sure that you put your time into it. You have months to do it, so you want to make sure you're clearly putting in the time and effort when you're doing that. So make sure you fill it out thoroughly and carefully. And you have to fill out this application to be considered for membership. So just because you have a 3.75 or higher does not mean you're going to automatically be a member of the National Honor Society. That makes you eligible to apply. So National Honor Society is not an honor roll. There are other requirements as well. So our 4 pillars, like I said, the first one's scholarship, which makes you eligible. You have character, service, and leadership are the other 3. All 3 are weighted equally. So when you apply, if you think, okay, I have a lot of service experience, and you're like banking on that, remember that that's not the only thing that we're looking for. So we're looking for these 4 pillars together. We're looking for well-rounded students in all 4 of those categories. So just because you might have strong experience in one as opposed to another doesn't mean that you're going to get into NHS. You have to show experience in all 4 categories. Also, you have to make sure that you maintain those qualities as you're in the National Honor Society. So that 3.75 GPA has to be maintained throughout your time in National Honor Society. And if not, there would be consequences, and I can talk about those in a little bit. Same with the other pillars. So if you want to make sure that you're maintaining those things, and then also in NHS you work to improve those skills as well. Okay. So, like Dr. Satala said, in June we get together, we put together these packets. They're a lot of papers come in these packets. So this is an outline of what you will receive. The first 3 are kind of just for your information. So the first one is just saying that you're eligible. The second one is a checklist, and it's very detailed as to what you need to go through. Like each part of the application process is very detailed, and there's a lot of directions there, so make sure you read over them carefully. And then the third one is the selection criteria. It outlines our 4 pillars and kind of goes through like what are we looking for in each pillar, what does it mean to be a leader, what do we require for service, what does it mean to have character, things like that. So those first 3 are just for your information, you read over them. The next documents are all the things that you will be turning in eventually. So there is what is the requirements agreement, I'll go over that in a second. There is directions to the online form. So that the directions there is one thing that's not in your packet. It is directions to the online form, and you actually have to go online. It's a Word document you can open, and you just type directly into it, and you'll have to print that out yourself. So that's the only thing that you have to print out. And then there will be different recommendation forms. You have to have several different recommendations from teachers, from community members, from people who can testify to your service, things like that. And we'll go over those forms here in a bit. Okay, so in June or July, when you get your packet, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you got everything you need. We put together, like Dr. Stella said, maybe 200 packets. So there's a chance that we might miss a form or something. So what you can do is you can go online, you can pull up these slides will be online for you. You can pull it up and you can see what should be in that packet. Just make sure everything's there. If it's not there, either contact me or Dr. Spatala will make sure you get the forms that you need. All right, when you get this, make sure you read the checklist. Pay careful attention to how you should be submitting things. So there's different ways to submit things. Make sure you look at the due dates, which I think we usually have it due the second week in September. So you'll still have a couple weeks after school starts to finish up your application. Make sure you read careful, pay attention to your directions, especially those of you who've had me in class. You know that drives me nuts when you don't pay attention to directions. So please make sure you do that. That's going to be one of the main things. Like if you, like Dr. Zala said, if you mess something up, we can't contact you. We don't know who you are. Your application is anonymous, so we can't really help you with that. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so the first thing you'll get is this green form. This is your membership requirements and acknowledgement of the commitment. So what this is saying that you have read over what National Honor Society is about, and you're committed to those what we're looking for, basically. And so what this is, we want to make sure that you know the expectations before you even apply. We don't want you to apply, become a member, and then realize what we expect you to do. We want to be very straightforward about what we expect as you become a National Honor Society member. So you can read over them, and you can also go online to our website, and you can look at all the bylaws. So you can see exactly what's expected of all of our members. And so some things that we do expect, so there are monthly meetings that you are required to attend. They are mandatory. We partners with a service organization. You're required to attend one of those service events each year. Obviously, you have to maintain your GPA, like I said, maintain your character, and then also we require that you have 20 hours of service per semester. So think about your time commitments. We ask you that you do 20 hours of service a semester. That's a requirement. And then also between your junior and senior year, you're required to do 10 hours in the summer. So read over this. You'll have this green form. You will sign it. Your parents will sign it, saying that you know what the expectations are if you were to become an NHS member. This is the only document that has your name on it. Right? So this will be the only thing. You'll turn this in separately. It won't go with your application because your application is anonymous. So that's the only thing that will have your name on it. Okay. The next thing, like I said, the one thing that won't be in your packet will be the directions to the online form. So there will be a Word document that you have to go through and fill out. And this is the one that you're going to go, it's going to be a Word document. You'll just type directly into it and you'll print it out. And we'll talk about what's on that application here in a bit. Make sure you invest time in this application. So like we said, this is what the faculty council sees. It is completely anonymous. You just have your student number on it. So you can't rely and say, oh, I did this, and just think that other people are going to assume and know what you have done to show these different pillars. So it's really important that you take the time for this application and be able to speak well about yourself, which I know is something that's kind of hard to do. Talk about your accomplishments, talk about your service, talk about your leadership in a way that's going to come across the faculty council. They know you have those characteristics. And I think that is probably one of the harder things to do, but make sure you're spending the time and really talking about those things thoroughly and carefully. Let's see. And like we said, all the pillars are all weighted equally, so make sure each section of the applications, you put the time in equally for all of those sections. Incomplete and or late applications will not be reviewed, so you'll have approximately 3 months to do this, so anything that's late will not be accepted. And Dr. Satala will talk about a little bit. We have kind of a way to make sure that you're getting all your materials in time through Google Classroom. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, make sure you proofread this document that you type into. That's one of the main things. If the faculty council is looking at your document and there's a lot of typos, it's not going to look well upon yourself. You clearly didn't put the time in and the effort to make sure that your application looks well. So just be careful with that. Okay. So that's the website where you'll be able to find that Word document in June. I think I kind of already talked about this. Like I said, make sure you speak well about yourself. I think that's one of the main things that, we've had not accepted some students into NHS who probably have had the qualities that they needed, but they just weren't able to convey that. We can't emphasize that enough. It is anonymous. We don't know who you are, so make sure that you are being able to talk well about what you have done in the past. Okay, and then this is what the actual Word document will be. So this is what you're going to be required to actually type into that Word document online. So the different sections have to do with the 4 pillars. So the first one is your leadership experience. You must identify 2 leadership experiences in which you are directly responsible for directing or motivating others. And Dr. Satala will talk about that in a bit, what kind of counts as leadership, some ideas and some examples and non-examples. Now, what's really important about this is that third bullet point there. It says you need a leadership evaluation form to verify each experience. So just because you talk about a leadership experience does not mean, basically what we need is we need someone to verify that and be able, like an adult or a supervisor of some sort, to be able to actually talk about what you did and back up what you have put into your application. So you're going to talk about your leadership experience, but it's important that you have a recommendation that goes along directly with that experience. Someone verify basically what you have done. You need 2 of those. You also have to show that you've already been doing some service, so you have a service requirement as an NHS member. But in order to be eligible for NHS, you also have to have completed 20 hours of service at school or in the community since the start of your freshman year. Okay, so we're looking for that. This one, you actually get someone to sign off. You don't have an actual recommendation form specifically for these service, but you have to have someone, like if you say that you volunteered like at a church camp over the summer, you have to have someone who actually will sign off on that. So you'll take your application, you'll print it out after you've typed into it, you'll take it to your church or wherever you volunteered, and you'll actually have the supervisor, someone who can attest to saying that you were actually there. They'll sign off it directly onto your application. That's unlike the leadership. The leadership form's a separate form. Right? The service one, the adult will sign directly on your application. If you can't, like maybe you volunteered someplace else that you can't actually get a physical signature, if that's the case, you can have email correspondence, like a certificate of something that's saying that you volunteered. Just remember, if you can't get an actual signature, you have to back up your service somehow, and make sure if someone emails me or Dr. Sutala with that verification, make sure your name's not on it. Make sure you just have your student number. Your whoever's verifying your hours can just talk about you through as your student number. The other parts of the application, you'll have your work experience, extracurricular activities, any recognition or awards that you've received, and then there will be a short essay about, we'll have a prompt for you and we'll ask you to respond to that. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sutala.
Thank you. This is one of the big things that happened last year is we had people write about leadership, and then they submitted leadership forms that didn't have anything to do with what they talked about in their application. So we didn't have evidence. So it made it very difficult. So make sure those things are corresponding. We have it in bold like all over the application, but there's like, at this point as we try to catch and prevent mistakes from the past, like half the things in bold, you know, so like the bold doesn't really stand out anymore. So that's a big thing I would say. All right, so Ms. Lang already talked about some of this. One of the things that we're gonna go through specifics about what we consider quality leadership and what we don't, or service and what we don't. The thing is, even if you don't have it right now, like you have all summer to go get these things, okay? So, and like if you don't make it in this year, you have a whole year to get those things done and then reapply the following year. So I encourage you to do that. So it's not sort of a one and done kind of thing. Okay, I think we talked about this. So the leadership is probably, and I think officers will attest to this, the trickiest thing to write about. I mean, because the service, like you either volunteer or you didn't volunteer, right? You either have the GPA or you don't have the GPA. Leadership is tough because one of the things we expect from all of our students at Pine Richland is that they are a good quality person, okay? And so just writing that you lead by example doesn't qualify it to elevate you to leadership with National Honor Society. Okay, so it has to be something beyond that. And if I had to give you one piece of advice about that, you have to be in a position where you are making some kind of decision. Okay, so let's say that you're a captain of a sports team. That could be because you're a good player. It could be because you were popular. I mean, we don't know. So just being designated as captain of soccer or whatever isn't enough. Now, what would make it enough is that you have to go beyond like motivational speeches at halftime. If you designed some drills, or if you designed a summer workout program, or something like that, or you did something special with the freshmen to help bring them along, something where you're in a position to like see the needs, make a decision, and affect a change, that would qualify, and that's what you need to write about, okay? Let's say that you work with best buddies, and you lead your buddy around. That doesn't count as leadership. Okay, but if you volunteered at Best Buddies Camp this summer and you just didn't implement the plan of somebody else, if you actually saw what they needed and directed them in special ways, like you made decisions, that would count as leadership. Okay, so you want to get yourself kind of in that space. Okay, with the recommendation forms, remember they're confidential. So the way you're going to submit them is for people outside of the school. You want to give them a stamped addressed letter to one of us. For the people within the school, like teachers, they don't need a stamped letter because they're going to hand us the form or they're going to put it in their mailbox. So you don't need to give them a stamped envelope for that. Does that make sense? Yeah, just make reasonable decisions there. Make sure that your name, of course, doesn't show up anywhere, okay? And then, yeah, they go directly to us. We don't really have that much time, so I'm going to like going on. So one of the things that happened last year is we had 5 or 6 people that their application was complete, except for one person like didn't submit one of their letters. And so we initially rejected them because their stuff wasn't complete, and they came back and said, well, we gave this person a letter like a month ago. They didn't fill it out. I didn't know they didn't fill it out. I mean, ultimately, it's up to you to start harassing these people and saying, like, did you get your stuff in? So what we're going to try this year is we're going to set up a Google Classroom, and as letters come in, we'll type in your student number, and we'll write who we got a letter from. And the code for the Google Classroom will show up in your application materials. So before the deadline for the application, you should log on, look for your student number, and see if like all of your stuff has been turned in. And let's say you ask Mrs. Bowman for a letter of recommendation, it's not there yet. Go and talk to her and say, hey, I just want to remind you, I need that letter turned in like the next 72 hours or something, okay? So hopefully we'll catch that. Now, I know it's gonna happen, we're gonna get like 200 letters on the last day, and so it'll be a little like slow to upload them, okay, but it'll happen. Just try to get your letters out to people early enough that they can turn them in a reasonable time, and then you can feel secure that all your stuff is turned in. So we'll see how that works this year. Okay, so this is what the teacher evaluation looks like. It's probably hard for you to see. One must be a core subject teacher, so that's math, science, social studies, or English, and then one could be from another teacher. It could be another core, it could be an elective teacher. So there is a ranking process that they do, and then they also are supposed to give specific evidence of things. So it can't just be, they can't just say this person leads by example. It should be somebody that you have developed a relationship with in your class and that they know you pretty well. You did something significant, you know, don't just be like a shy wallflower in their class, because then it makes it really hard for us to rate about you. Okay, the community member looks almost exactly the same. It's a different color. You'll see that. Once again, we want specific evidence of actions, okay, beyond leads by example. And then the leadership form looks almost the same, but remember, these have to be paired with what you wrote about in your application. Okay, same kind of thing. Has to provide evidence of specific examples. And this presentation, as I said, will be online. I know we're going kind of fast right now. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to read through this list, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so we only have like a minute left, but with this list, if you have something you think is a leadership opportunity but you're not sure, feel free to come and talk to one of us. We'll listen to what you say, and then we'll make a suggestion or say, yes, we think that would count, or no, we don't think the council would count that. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about this right now? Yes? Yeah, so the question is, can you have the same person write 2 different letters? Ultimately, there's nothing to prevent that, but you present better if you have different things. But I understand, like, if you work at a church camp over the summer and that's where your leadership is, then yeah, that's probably also where your service is. So, you know, to that end, I've had people volunteer, and if anybody's interested in this, I run a nonprofit STEM camp in the summer at Wexford Elementary called Camp Invention, and we have volunteer leadership interns. So if you're interested in that, you would pick up all of your service, and you would have your leadership, and I would be writing your stuff. So, you know, if that's something you're interested in, see me after, okay? All right, any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, submission instructions. So you're gonna turn in that green sign-off form with your name, I don't remember, is it green? It's green. Yeah, with your name on it that your parents have signed off in like one box in Miss Lang's room, and everything else is gonna go in an envelope and is gonna go in a different box in Miss Lang's room. And so what we do is the day the applications are done, we'll meet with all the officers, we'll separate all your forms, we'll like staple them to your application so like everything's together under student numbers, okay? Any questions? Okay, this is a quiet group. All right, I know it's early. Good luck with all of your exams coming up. I said, if you're interested in Camp Invention, come see me at the end of this presentation. Thank you for your time.